What's up, everybody? BobbyFi back with my man Sheets. We are going to be going over a Fanduel lineup build. We just did the DraftKings video, so make sure to check that one out and give us the like, the thumbs up. Really appreciate it. Make sure that y'all are following and subscribing because we are going to be giving away this information for free. I'm only guessing for so long, but it's going to be at least for now. So keep getting it for free. Sheets, what do you think about this slate on Fanduel? A little tricky, huh?
It's hard because at least right now, the ownership projections are sort of reflective of how I feel about the players, which means it's difficult for me right now to figure out how I want to get leverage. Now, with that said, there's a couple of spots that I could try for. One of them is a little scarier here than it would have been than it is on DraftKings, but I'll talk about that. And there is, two and a half key pieces of injury news that are still waiting that are going to determine some things. And on FanDuel, it's not so easy because of when lock is. The first of them being whether CJ McCollum is out or not, which is going to be important because, there's a good chance you don't know that before lock. And so on a 3-game slate, you might have to speculate one way or the other. And maybe that's one way you could be a little different. The other bit of news that just came out, as you were mentioning, was that Anthony Davis has been officially ruled as questionable. Now, again, I said, well, you mean like usual? He's always questionable? He said, no, he actually wasn't questionable before, and they did actually put the Q tag on him. So, again, that's something that might not come out until after lock. The game doesn't start until an hour after lock. And again, maybe that's good news because maybe that allows us to speculate a little bit and get a little different in doing that. I'm not sure. We'll talk about that. And the third bit of injury news, which doesn't exist yet, but the good news is that would happen before, it wouldn't happen after lock, would be whether or not Bradley Beal plays. And for those of you who didn't watch the DraftKings thing, although there's no injury designation or anything like that, he did play, a lot of minutes in a big effort in overtime and basically limped all during overtime. Back-to-back, going from Miami to Cleveland. I again, just me being a human being, wouldn't be surprised if he sat. But there's no indication of that at all, but it's just something to be on the lookout for if it's in fact like 6:45 and they announce it. I just wouldn't be surprised and just be prepared for the possibility that happens. That's all.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something worth considering. So going position by position,
Yep.
It's going to be really tricky at point guard to get different because everybody who I like as ownership. The one angle is maybe you play, if we don't know about AD or even if we do, you're still not going to have crazy ownership on Rondo, I don't think. So I would give Rondo a shot. That's the weird tournament play because otherwise, for me, it's just a mix of mostly Garland, Sexton, Doncic, and Lillard, and Kyrie. All those guys are the ones who grade out the best, and I don't really see ways of playing anyone else without the maybe tricky Rondo play or a tricky Anthony Simons play, but that's pretty much all I got.
We didn't talk about this beforehand, but you couldn't have reiterated my thoughts basically verbatim. That's exactly what I was going to say, that the main plays, Lillard, Kyrie, Sexton, Doncic, and Garland, are going to be the 5 most owned plays, and I like those 5 the best. We could try to rank them if you want, but the ownership is probably reflecting them pretty accurately for me, and the 2 chances I would take are literally exactly what you said. Either Rondo speculating that AD's out, or Anthony Simons hoping or projecting that CJ McCollum will be out. I really have nothing to add except for the fact that if in fact what's his name gets ruled out, Beal, that obviously Simmons that Ish becomes a good play, and maybe even Isaiah.
Yeah, Ish, I think more so than Isaiah for me, but I definitely agree. If there's no Bradley Beal, it changes things a little bit. I would rank, if I had to rank them, I would rank Garland number 1, Luka number 2, probably Lillard number 3, and Sexton number 4. Kyrie's right in there. It's really close between all of them. But what I like about is you can do something different by playing like Garland and Sexton together. Because even if people play them, I don't see people taking that route. Do you know what I mean? So while you're getting, 20+% ownership on both guys or 30% ownership, you're probably only getting like 3 or 4% ownership of them together.
Right.
So that's an interesting way to maybe just line up construct.
Okay.
All right.
So shooting guard, shooting guard's a little different for me on FanDuel than it was on DK because there's something I wanted to do on DK that it's going to be harder for me to do on FanDuel, but I might end up doing it anyway. But I have to figure it out. I have this thought that I really don't want to play Bradley Beal, just because of what I just said. Just coming off of the overtime game, limping off the court, back to back. Miami going to Cleveland. It just from everything I know about human beings and sports or whatever, it just sets up to be a kind of an atrocious spot for him, which is why he would. From just a physical conditioning perspective, which is why I think he might sit. Now, from a matchup perspective, it's a freaking smash matchup, which is why he projects really well. And if everything I said is a bunch of BS, then fading Bradley Beal is kind of hazardous to your health. And the problem is that on FanDuel, it's harder because shooting guard, when you have to play two of them, shooting guard can get kind of ugly, right? So this is where I'm looking at. So Bradley Beal's rating to be about 70% owned, I presume, and for good reason if you think about it on FanDuel. But what's interesting to me is that the next best guy would be Spencer Dinwiddie. And the reason I bring that up is that the guys under the Beal Dinwiddie, I have the same guys in the same game. Like I have Jordan McRae and LeVert as my next two kind of shooting guards. So what I could do is play either Dinwiddie play Beal and then pivot off of Dinwiddie by going LeVert, which makes sense, right? Or, if I really wanted to be kooky, just take a stand against Beal and then just go Dinwiddie with McRae, right? Which makes which at least accomplishes what I want to accomplish. So for me, that makes it a little bit interesting. Aside from that, the same thing goes as I talked about a point guard. The next best option for me would be to take shots on those injuries. So, it's not quite the same. I mean, you could take a shot on Gary Trent at 3,800 and hope that CJ is out. I was going to say Danny Green, but he's not really affected that much by AD anyway, but he would be my next guy. Yeah, so for me, again, it's just the guys that I mentioned. And I probably will end up fading Beal as well on here just because I just kind of feel like it. But he certainly does look like a good play. But I'm probably going to go something like Dinwiddie and McRae and hope I'm right about if Beal does play, just doesn't have a good game. Or something like LeVert and Beal, or maybe even as really crazy like LeVert and McRae.
Yeah, for me, it's very hard to get away from Beal over here, assuming that he plays.
Yep.
I hate this position, but I think that if there's other guys I'd play, I actually don't mind the speculating with Gary Trent. I know, I mean, he did miss a million shots. I know it was a different situation without McCollum, but he played 40 minutes, and I know it was an overtime game, but he played 38 the game before. I think that he could still – so there's upside on a 20-ish minute projection for him, even if McCollum plays, by the way. Because also factor in the fact that Dallas is playing basically like – if you count Luka as a guard, they play 4 guards sometimes. If you don't count Luka as a guard, they often play 3 guards. With all the other guys at the bench. DeLon Wright, again, you need the minute upside. So I think Trent has the more minutes upside, especially factoring McCollum's than a guy like DeLon Wright is. And I'm be looking to spend down that other spot. And then, so it'd be those guys in LeVert to go with Beal for me mostly. But I don't mind McRae or Dinwiddie either. It's just not the guys that I'm finding in my build because I'm sort of spending up for Luka and for LeBron quite a bit.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So where are we going? Am I sharing my screen, by the way?
Oh no, it's funny. We've been talking about it, but we haven't been sharing the screen. It's all right. We've been talking through.
Let's do it. Hold on.
Pull the screen up.
Wait, where did I? Hang on a minute. Where's my? There it is. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah. So it's up now. So again, this is just a kind of a shell, and I'm not putting necessarily this in yet, but this one right now is Lillard and Sexton, and again, you could really use any of those 5 guys, and then this one happens to have Beal and Trent. But I just actually switched it as we were going. It had, I think, Dinwiddie and one of those other guys to try to fade Beal. But either way is fine. So anyway, moving ahead, I guess to small forward. What were my notes on? All right, so it looks like LeBron is going to be probably the chalk. And for me, I'm kind of with you. I want to play him regardless. It's tough for me to get away from him, especially where you can. I don't say especially wherever, but you could some other positions you could find some cheaper guys, and you could make LeBron work really, really easily. Even playing him with Lillard and with Beal, I mean, you could certainly make this work really, really easily. So LeBron for me was be way at the top in a small forward position because, like, if you go down a little bit, my next favorite guy is Anthony, and I have him in here just because he fills out the roster sheet. But I'm not too set on playing Carmelo Anthony, and after that, then once again, on the Portland side, you could go play Trevor Ariza at 4,100. And, well, on the one hand, you could hope that McCollum is out, but on the other hand, he might be kind of safe whether McCollum is out or not.
Mm-hmm.
So you could go down to him. And then honestly, it's like really, really gross. I mean, all those Brooklyn wings, like Prince and Harris, or you know what you could do? Get Troy Brown, but you'll know before lock. I was going to say you could speculate. There's nobody you can even speculate here also for the later game. So I'm probably going to end up chalking out with LeBron, and maybe I might end up with Carmelo just because the rest of it's so terrible. I don't know.
Yeah, it is pretty bad. I don't think I'm going to stay away from LeBron at all on FanDuel today. I think that I'm going to play LeBron with mostly Prince,
Okay.
some Osman. I like the matchup for him. And you could speculate on Troy Brown. Like, well, obviously if there's no Beal, you could play Troy Brown. But even if Beal plays, like, and then you've got Joe Harris, and I'm just not that excited about any of them. So I think Prince would be my guy, along with, like you said earlier, Ariza. There's definitely minutes upside for both of those guys. So I would that's probably where I would go.
You know what I think we could end up having to do here is creating, and this could let you play Bradley Beal, right? It could let me play Bradley Beal as a child. Bradley Beal is doing stuff like with these Cleveland guys, like really, really jamming in these guys, like putting in Osman and Sexton and/or Garland, you know what I mean, and really making a full stack out of this, and just having the lower owned Cleveland guys. If you want to get different, you could try to fade Kevin Love, who's going to be the most popular power forward. Maybe that's getting a little bit too different, but that's one way you could go. There's Tristan Thompson; he's going to be popular too. But all these Cleveland guys are going to rate to be pretty decent. So maybe somebody like Chetty Osman could be the lower owned of the Cleveland guys. I don't know. I guess that might be where we're headed here if we play these. If you want to play Bradley Beal.
Yeah, it's weird because, like, if you play at the power forward spot. Well, the one thing you can do is speculate on Kuzma if we don't know about this.
Right.
I really like Bertans, though, at this price, but he's going to be popular. And I like Kevin Love at this price, but he's going to be popular. And Jared Allen will be the other one. I think that the best move would be to take a chance and maybe pivot over to either a Kuzma, a Kleber, or a Nance. It just play the game theory aspect. And that's probably all I'm looking at. Like, I don't think I'm going to play AD, but yeah, I think it would be playing some Kuzma I actually think Kuzma, even if we know Davis is going to play, or what if Davis is playing on a minutes limit or something? I think Kuzma has some upside still here. So he's a way you can probably get a little bit different. And then, Larry Nance is just, if he's not going to be owned at 4.2, I think that could be an interesting way to go, but I can't imagine no one will play him. I think mostly people are going to play the Love Bertans thing or Love Allen, but I think that it'll leave a little bit out for Larry Nance.
Well, the one thing you could do again is going back to the DraftKings analysis. It's a little different. Is that if Jared Allen's going to be that popular, but he won't be because Love is going to take all the ownership, right? These two are both going to be these are going to be the two most popular guys, right? Allen and Love. Yeah,
I would say that if Allen makes a ton of sense, if you don't, especially if what's his name, if DeAndre Jordan is out, then I think that Jared Allen is going to be 1,000,000%, and for pretty good reason.
Yeah. So if Jordan plays, then what you could do is then you could fade Tristan Thompson maybe and go with DeAndre Jordan at center. You know what I mean? And then
Mm-hmm.
and then get Jared Allen out. Or so. As you see when we go through this, I mean, the edges are really, really thin tonight. You know what I mean? Like we're like struggling to just find marginal pivots that are really not even that great. You know, so it's very, very difficult. I think that you might end up having to just find the right game to stack and just, you know what I mean, and just go for some correlation or something like that. Because there's just these pivots are just not very dramatic. Let's put it that way. What you could do, I know we talked about this before. You said you like Bertans. I like Bertans also. 4,500. You could pair him with Beal. Maybe that works.
Yeah, I think they're both going to be popular.
Yeah, I know it's tough. It's just tough. And Larry Nance. Again, you could do stuff like avoid kind of the obvious. Like I don't want to play Nance and Love together. But I don't think anybody's going to do that. Maybe you're right. Maybe Kuzma might be a decent one because he does have a route to success even if AD plays. And if AD plays with a minutes limit, then he's probably a good play. And if AD doesn't play at all, he becomes kind of a great play. So, or a good play. Let's put it that way. What about do we talk about Kleber yet? Because we went for a while.
I think he's an interesting pivot, and I don't even buy the projected ownerships on him. I think he's going to be lower than anybody thinks.
I mean, who's going to play him instead of Bertans? I guess people will.
Not that many. No, you're right. Like I just don't see that happening.
You know what you need? What you need is Love to be ruled out so that Nance becomes 80% owned, so you could fade him. I guess that's I don't know. These are the things I'm kind of hunting for tonight. It's rough out there.
If Kevin Love is ruled out, I'll make a prediction. Since I won our last bet, I will bet not on the ownership, but I will bet that Larry Nance scores 35 fantasy points.
I understand that. That sounds like it. All right, so I guess we covered power forward. I mean, want to look at center? So center.
Yeah, there's nothing like that crazy, you know.
All right, so this is what you do. So there's two centers that look to be really, really good. And one of them is Tristan Thompson, and the other one is Hassan Whiteside. And without even looking, I'm just going to presume that these two probably, let me guess, they encompass 80% ownership between the two of them?
Not quite, but close.
Pretty close. And, you know, it makes sense. So, look, if you want to pivot, you could do one of two things. You could take one of the two Washington centers, that being Mahinmi or Bryant, or one of the two LA centers, that being Howard or McGee. I'm not going to go to Boban at 5,000, okay, on FanDuel. I'll take my chances at DraftKings if I have to. But talk to me about the Laker thing again, because we kind of like got around to maybe on DraftKings Dwight Howard being a decent play over there. So do you think something similar on FanDuel? I know you're fighting against these two pretty decent freaking plays up at Thompson and Whiteside here, but what do you think about Howard here?
I think there's upside for the minutes for Howard, and also if there is nobody really to match up with them inside, like if they can get, you know, if Jordan is out, I like Howard even better because you literally have no one behind Jared Allen. As good of a help defender as he is, Howard can absolutely dominate in that matchup. If you look at like just, you know, what he's been doing lately, like he's basically paying off his price in whatever minutes he gets, and he's had the upside of 28 minutes recently, as recently as last game. Last night, I guess it was. That maybe the back-to-back you'd worry a little bit, but I just think like that's a good way to take a pivot. I think Jan Mahinmi is an interesting pivot, but I don't think I'm going to end up doing it. For me, it's going to be probably Howard or DeAndre Jordan as pivots off of Whiteside and Thompson. Thompson, I'll play more than White. I'm going to fade Whiteside, I think, entirely across all sites tonight.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's something.
I need to do something, you know. The more we get through it, it's not even I think it's such a smart thing to do. It's just what else can we do, man? We have to try and get different in some spots. And you know, your idea of fading Beal and my idea of fading Whiteside is at least a start of that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So
what about I'm looking at the minutes trend maybe of Thomas Bryant.
That's interesting. I thought about him before a little bit. He could be an off-the-board play that could end up having some minutes upside. It's been weird that they haven't given it to him like at all. I don't really understand why. That's interesting, though. I mean, probably not ideal. I think I would just stick with Howard because the price difference is not enough.
Yeah, and as gross as this is, I think I'd only want Brian to be starting.
If Brian's starting, that changes everything because then you actually have the 30-plus minute upside. But then the problem is everybody owns them.
Right.
Yeah, I think that your best bet here is, if you want to bet the upside, is probably for Howard.
I hear there's a good soccer slate tonight.
Or Jan Nini. Are you saying? Yeah, this is not an ideal tournament slate. Yikes. That's all I can say. And the good news is we'll get some news later that will make it even more obvious. So we're going to have to try and take some weird pivots.
All right, so let me throw one other name out there because the reason why I throw it out there, it's kind of thematic of what I think you kind of need to do or kind of should do, is I really think that you should speculate a little bit on those on the AD and or the Portland thing. And what you'd love to do, if it's all possible, like the Kuzma play in a way, is find a guy that that can get there if the news doesn't break the way you want, but really will get there if if it doesn't. Those are kind of tough. But again, I would probably do what we were talking about, like taking shots on Trent, taking shots on Anthony Simons, taking shots on Kuzma, and maybe even, like you were saying, taking a shot on Rondo. Is this game? Is this Laker game?
If we find out that McCollum is out for any reason,
yep.
Or we find like anything that happens to open up any value is going to make Darius Garland and Sexton unowned on FanDuel.
That's really sharp. That's really important because that's what's going to happen. Because you're going to end up being able to play Luka, right?
It'll all be Luka, Lillard, and Kyrie.
Right. So, like, for example, could you even? I'm not gonna do this, but just to see, but could you play Luka and him together? Like, you won't be able to play LeBron also, but like if all this other value
good, like what if there's if there's no Bradley Beal, then it becomes easy to.
Right. That's right. So maybe you're right. Maybe that's that's what we kind of want to hope for, is if Beal is out, then you stack up all those Garlands and Sextons with Jordan McRae's and Troy Brown Jr.'s, and then you could jam in LeBron in one and
it's going to force you to overpay in some spots. So what you then would try and do is, Whiteside's going to be high owned anyway, but It's really hard to do. But then maybe what happens is you play LeBron and AD.
Right.
Now we're thinking a little bit. Okay, now I'm starting to get a little bit of an idea. Like, serious. Like, if you play AD at question, or
I have a question for you. So here's one.
Or play.
So let's say Washington. There's no news that he's out, right? But let's just say that the game happens and Bradley Beal plays 26 minutes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who would have wanted to have if Bradley Beal plays 26 minutes?
Probably McRae or Brown.
Right. And if he plays 33 minutes, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to have either way.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
So maybe just like assuming that he's like playing, but hopefully they limit him without announcing it or something. Yeah, that's a possibility. Or you can just why not just go like balls out and play CJ McCollum instead?
Yeah, I don't like the zero downside there. I don't know if I have that in me because if McCollum does play, like, it's not like the greatest thing in the world either for him. So
yeah. No, I agree. It's a little weird. It's not the perfect play. And you could always take a shot with one of the Lakers guys if you felt like you just wanted someone for low ownership, because there's upside for Danny Green's had his 39 games. So has KCP. It's just that there's not a logical reason why you should do it tonight, right, except for ownership. But I think right now,
it would actually be smart. I guess it would be smart. I think it would be smart if you played LeBron. Maybe it would be smart to play Kyrie.
But Kyrie's going to be the mega chalk.
Do you think Kyrie's going to be the higher owned than Lillard?
No. Well, I think, yes, I do actually. I think he'll be higher owned than Lillard, lower owned than Luka. I don't think people are going to end up spending down at point guard by the end of it because there's going to be somebody out somewhere or speculation that somebody is. So you can play the Sexton and Garland backcourt. I think that's interesting. I'm telling you, just if we hear other news and other somebody's out and it becomes so easy to play Luka and whoever, and I love Luka. Right now he's in my only lineups. But
was that right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, he's a great play. Like on Fanduel, how do you not play him like at this price? But these other guys, you could just totally flip your build around.
Right.
You might even have to pay up for Whiteside at center, actually, if you did it, because otherwise you have to pay for AD. That's kind of tough. Or you'd have to pay for Porzingis, which I don't mind that as like a play either. Like he can get you 35 or 45 raw points, and that might be enough if you're just doing a different type of build on this tiny little slate.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't think I'm going to go for the zeros one. I don't think I'm going to do the AD play. I don't think I'm going to go with the CJ McCollum play. But again, I think I will try to do some middling things like speculate on Gary Trent or somebody like that. It's not going to kill me. Play Jordan McRae. That might not kill me, even if Beal plays a full 34 minutes or something like that. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's the way I'll end up going. But make no mistake. And again, for those of you that have been watching us for a while, you know that we don't say this a lot. This is a rough one, man. It really is.
This is not a good tournament slate unless something else happens and we can find an exact pivot. And if it happens, I will tweet it out later because I don't have the giant edge you're taking except for that weird Cleveland idea. That's my best shot.
Yeah, so if you had to ask me right now, I would say that since there's to do, I would probably end up just doing what I'm doing on DraftKings and just Xing out Bradley Beal and just hoping for the best. Well, we'll see. It's funny you say, well, it's not a good tournament slate. I don't think it's such a great cash slate either.
But the chalky cash play. I mean, well, it's just going to be a fine line between your lineups.
You know what they used to say about my basketball team in high school? We may be small, but we're slow. So I think that's kind of the approach to tonight's slate. It's very tough, either whatever you want to do. So, but you know what? They're still giving away $100,000 for first on DraftKings and $50,000 for first on FanDuel. So someone's going to get paid. Someone's going to make the right move. Someone's going to be like you yesterday and play freaking what's his name? You and the other dude, Petty, whoever played Brandon Goodwin. When everybody was all over Teague as a lock at 80%. So there's going to be someone that gets this right. So hashtag why not us.
Why not us? Let's do it, man.
All
right, guys. Thanks for tuning in with us. We will be back for a much better slate tomorrow, and we've got some cool new things that are coming up that I think you guys will enjoy as well. Please like and subscribe, and other than that, we will see you at the top of the leaderboards. Good luck to those of you who figured it out tonight. If you figure it out, let us know.
Please.
All right, guys. Take it easy.